Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Kuzma and Terry Fletcher.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast presented by Gameday Tailgate Experience. Elevate your tailgate when the Steelers travel to Jacksonville November 18th to take on the Jaguars. For more information, and as always, we'll cover this one more time so you don't forget. But if you would like to find out more about this tailgate party, head over to steelcityunderground.com/Jaguars tailgate. My name is Joe Kuzma, and today, finally, I join forces with a long-lost, I almost wanted to say like nemesis, maybe a counterpart is probably a better word for Miss or Mrs., or I'll cover all the bases, Ms. Terry, Terrible Towel Fletcher. How are you, Terry?
I'm good. I feel like I need a drum roll.
Yeah, you know, it's a lot of stuff to say to start the show off, and it's kind of odd that today's topic, we're headed back to the Steelers Nation across the nation thing. I'm going to be touching on some points I may have made about what to do on game day, but it's odd that we were talking about Jacksonville and doing stuff before the Jacksonville game in Jacksonville, Florida, when today's topic centers on Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. But before I get there as well, we also have another new partner. I said there's a lot of announcements coming in there in rapid fire succession. We'd like to welcome Ticket IQ as a partner of the Steel City Underground podcast. There's more information to be found about them as well at steelcityunderground.com/tickets. We're going to have some promotions and things of that nature, even some contests coming up soon with all the Steelers games. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, it sounds like we're just so excited for the season. I can't even believe that we're almost here, and we only have a couple more preseason left.
We're so excited that we're complaining about defense and offense and everything else when there's, I really try to be respectful of, all 90 players that are on the team, but we know some of these guys will not suit up or be in an NFL venue again the rest of their lives. And those are the kind of guys that are on the field, and people are just, out with their pitchforks and torches and whatnot. Now, I enjoy preseason. I mean, I know I talked about, I don't always sit through the entire game. Some of that's just depending on when the game is. Sometimes it's just too hot. Depending on who's with me, they get agitated because I have to drag other people to go to a preseason game. If it's late at night on a weeknight, people have to work and stuff like that. So it's nothing of that nature. But I'm excited because I get to visit Heinz Field again on Saturday, and there's actually a game. But we'll be previewing that in the coming days.
Yeah, I think it's great to go to a preseason. That's where, to me, I'd want to take the kids to that. I have a thing about when I'm watching a game, I don't want to have to deal with kids, and so sorry for people who are taking their kids. I'm just I have adult children, so I'm not there.
So you just threw a dart and hit the bullseye with what I'm doing, because we're going to take the little one who is about to turn 5 to her first pro football game. Now, she's actually been to Heinz Field before for a pick game, but she was real little for that, and it was unbearable. It was a Labor Day weekend sort of deal when it was 90-some degrees, early afternoon. The gold seats radiate the sun and just burn you to death, and so that was not a very successful attempt. But the late afternoon here, we're going to give it a shot, and I know if she gets cranky and agitated, hey, I could go back home and watch the rest of it, DVR'd and whatnot. So it's not the end of the world for me. I'd rather, hey, she gets to wear her Color Rush jersey, and we all get to go as a family, and hopefully she enjoys the experience, which this is what it's really about. And for the preseason, I think a lot of people do that because they can get tickets a lot cheaper. You're not blowing a couple $100 on a ticket for a kid who doesn't know anything that's going on. They might be excited about some fireworks or a bird that flies over, or looking at the people behind them acting like nutcases, and most of the time drunk. So it's not a kid environment for the regular season. I think the preseason is a little more like that. Kids don't like to stand still. Adults don't like to stand still. You should see some of the people that I sit with, Terry. there's a guy, he just wanted to mosh pit with me during the entire Patriots game last year. I think I came home with like a separated shoulder. He was sitting out to my right, and I just kept, he kept bumping into me every time there was something big to happen in the game, and there was a lot of big moments in that game. So that's what we kind of want to talk about today, but it's not necessarily just, it's more or less like you're in Pittsburgh. What do you do if you don't end up at a game, or you just want to enjoy the atmosphere? You don't want to feel sucked into having to buy a ticket. Maybe you're holding out. Maybe you want to scalp a ticket. Hopefully you get something at a season ticket holders selling cheap on the side or something like that. But this is more or less if you're SOL, which is, blank out of luck for going to the game.
Yeah, it's funny too, because a couple of years the Steelers have been either on the opening day or on different days, and I know it's hard to get tickets sometimes if they're home or on those days. But I'm actually for opening day in Hawaii this year.
Ooh.
And I know, and so, but Hawaii, I don't know if people know this. It's a big Steeler place. Oahu, oh my gosh, everywhere you look, Steeler hats, Steeler shirts, and everything. But football starts at 2:30 in the afternoon there. So,
yeah.
So that's funny.
Well, it's a lot. See, that's different for you. What time do the games? See, 1 o'clock Eastern is what time? That's like a 10 a.m. Sorry, yeah. I'm not.
So when I say 2:30, I'm talking about like it's Thursday night football or Sunday night football. But yeah, they would actually, they're on a delay in Hawaii. But on Sundays, we're at 10 o'clock. Our early game is 10 o'clock. Our next game is at 1:20, and our Sunday night game is at 5:20. So football is an all-day event. There is no, going to church first. There's basically football. And so I hate to say that, but, you basically I went to church during the week. Does that count? So it's just kind of funny.
Sure. You may even find that at the pearly gates there may be a Steelers logo there or a terrible towel. So.
Oh, our pastor basically said when we went one time and the Steelers were playing Sunday night, so we went ahead and we're like, let's go. We haven't been in a couple of Sundays. And after praying, he's like, go Patriots. And everybody booed. I was like, dude.
Oh, that's the devil's work.
Yeah. I go, you're in Rams. And at the time it was San Diego Chargers. I'm like, what are you doing? So that was funny.
You're lucky I wasn't there, because I'd be chanting blasphemer.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. But when you're in Pittsburgh, if you're not going to the game, so what are some options that you found? I know one that I've been to that I like.
Well, hold on. I'm going to back up even more into that, because I was talking about tailgating before, and if you could hook up with a tailgate or with someone, there are many people who go tailgating that do not go to the game. So it is a party atmosphere. Some will stay in the tailgate lots, not depending on weather, of course. If the weather's miserable, you may not even get a full tailgate lot like in December. But September, October, early November, there's some party animals out there. People bring TVs. You could just throw an antenna on the TV, just screw it in the back. Get one of those little small antennas. I've done it with a smaller TV, but there are some people that come out. They have like a 55-inch TV hooked up in the back of a trailer. They have a generator. There's all kind of crazy stuff like that. But if you, short of doing that and staying in the tailgate lot and partying on through kickoff and watching it from the back of your car or truck or with some friends there's a lot of places along the North Shore that you can hit. Now, I wanted to say there is a caveat here, because there's no way we're going to mention every single place that could be out there. I'm going with like the immediate walking distance of Heinz Field. I'm sure we're still going to miss something and upset someone. They're going to say, this is my spot. This is where I go. Sorry. I'm sorry. Usually you can, this isn't too hard to find the information. The Steelers site has a section for Steelers bars now. You can go on Yelp or TripAdvisor or Google and probably find, I'm just talking about the immediate vicinity. And almost every single place there has a plethora of TVs, and you could party and hang out there prior to the game as well. So I'm curious, your first spot, your go-to spot.
My first spot would be McFadden's, Pittsburgh.
Okay,
so
that's one that gets floated around a lot.
Yeah, it's decent seating. It's always crowded, but for some reason people are like, oh, scooch in here. I've never had a problem getting a seat even. And I've been in Pittsburgh several times now on game day. But the biggest thing there is that their drinks are pretty reasonable when it comes to draft beer. They've got everything you can think of, but they've got a 4-pound pretzel. It's the size of 3 of your hands, and soft pretzel. And it's got covered in cheese, and they've got all kinds of dips for it. And it's $19 to $22. That's a pretty hefty price for a pretzel, but it's worth it. And then they have a crab dip to die for with garlic pita chips. So I'm loving that.
Yeah, I think you're always in it for the food, and we're going to talk about one of the most famous sandwiches you could eat in Pittsburgh. But I have to give a forewarning to any folks that are actually going to Pittsburgh for this type of deal. If you end up at Permane Brothers, if you go to the Strip, do not expect to watch anything. There's no TVs, right there. It's old school. It is the sandwiches only, unlike the franchises. Now, if you're in the outskirts, you're on business traveling, you're coming through, even by the airport, there's one. Now, that place, you could go, all Pittsburgh sports will always be on all the time, whether it's Pirates, Penguins, or the Steelers, local college teams, of course, if it's a Saturday, and you could partake in whatever drink and food specials and everything else they have. But if you're not familiar with the Permane sandwich, I know we mentioned it before, we've asked players about it. It's two big slices of Italian bread, and then it's usually a meat, cheese, tomatoes, and coleslaw. And I'm not a tomato. Oh, and French fries, of course. They pound the French fries on it. They're hand-cut French fries. Now, Eric Herman is always on me. We've had a Twitter war more than once with the Permane Brothers official Twitter account about, he will take a photo with everything on the sandwich. I get the fries on the side. I am not a coleslaw guy whatsoever. And then I will take a picture right back. And then the Permane's people. And if you do this and you go to the Strip District, they will antagonize you, tease you to death for ordering it this way. I'm just warning everyone. But it is the original place to go to. It has some nostalgia. There's a lot of places on the Strip District to shop. I'll give a shout out to Yinzers in the Berg, actually, for my Steeler Gang folks that are out there. They're carrying the Steeler Gang stuff now. If you're looking for the bandanas and a few of their items, they have it. But there's several other places there on the Strip, and it will get crowded on the weekend. Think of like a market, what do I want to call it? Almost like a farmer's market / flea market, but with actual restaurants and stores that are there. There's a lot of places that you could eat and get a drink there as well. But that is that's nowhere near somewhere you could walk to and from to the stadium. So just keep that in mind. If you're looking to get one of those famous Permane sandwiches and watch a Steelers game, you would have to go to one of the franchise locations, or else you're gonna be getting updates via text or whatever alerts on your phone.
Yeah, I think there's the biggest thing is, are there games on? I think some places claim to be Pittsburgh Steeler bars, and they're not always that way. That's why I brought up McFadden's. Go, yes, I'm in it for the food, only because I know there's a lot of ladies out there, even though the men are into the food too. You're like, okay, what can I get? What's good? Everybody's into trying new stuff. We know there's beer there. How can you have a bar without beer? And I know, Joe, you love to go on your beer tours. So yes. I have to throw in the food there.
Yes, I do. And there's still things are coming around when it comes to the state of Pennsylvania and their alcohol laws in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So like I mentioned before, if you go to Tailgate, you better bring beer in. You better buy it the night before, because I don't think they start selling till at least 11, if not noon. It's one or the other, and I always forget because since it's happened to me. I remember I went to go just to another spot too, is the casino's right there, Rivers Casino, and it's you would walk basically the distance of the Carnegie Science Center lot. They have a lot that they sell passes for tailgating and whatnot as well. No grills permitted there if you try to do that, so I avoid that lot altogether. It's on the one side of the stadium, hard to miss. But the Rivers Casino is within walking distance, and if it's decent weather, they'll have a DJ and a giant tent or two set up. There's places there's picnic tables. They'll do kielbasa sandwiches. They'll do like $2 or $3 tall boy cans, whether it's Bud Light, Coors Light. I guess whoever their beer sponsor is at the time is who it is. Sometimes you'll find Yuengling there, which for the longest time they didn't even have in Ohio. I had to go to Pennsylvania to buy it, and that wasn't a big deal because I'm 5-10 minutes from the state line. For those who know, I live in Northeast Ohio, so I'm a transplant, and I do a lot of driving down into Pittsburgh. So when I drive to Pittsburgh, I'm trying to go sit in Heinz Field. So if I I miss like I said, if I miss one of these places, sorry, one of your favorite bars. I also have a not so high opinion of some other places that are there, but as far as that, if you try to get an early start on drinking, you got to be careful and make sure you know where you're going and when they start serving. A lot of the bars will also sell you beer, like a 6-pack to take out, because that's the only way it used to work there. You couldn't do that in Ohio. It's illegal. It has to deal with the state laws and the way they do it. Vice versa, you could go in a grocery store in Ohio, buy beer, but in Pennsylvania you can't. And then I think West Virginia, they just do whatever. They sell it 24 hours around the clock. Now I'm totally teasing, but by West Virginia people have to get back to me on what their stuff is when they travel on up from there, because there's quite a few people from West Virginia is just as far in some cases as where I'm driving from to get down to Pittsburgh. So, but absolutely, if you have that type of thing in mind with drinking, tailgating, and partying, you're going to want to bring the beer with you. And just about every place has beer. I'm going to talk about a couple of breweries that are on the North Shore as well. But Tina, I could hear you chomping at the bit there. Or Tina, I called you
Terry.
Tina. Oh no, Tina's going to enjoy that. She's on my brain. You know why? It's because it's that time. Tina usually buzzes me in the middle of recording a podcast, and I happen to just look at my phone, and lo and behold, so she gets a mention. That would be my co-author of the preview guide and one of the editors here at Steel City Underground. I'm sorry, Terry.
That's okay. I know it's been a while.
Oh yeah, I'm getting rusty.
No, it's fine. It's funny when you talk about the alcohol, because being in Southern California, we didn't. All right, you can buy alcohol anywhere. You can even get it in a drugstore. So
yeah, Texas too.
I was just in Oregon visiting my family this past weekend, and they were like, "Okay, well, we have to go to the liquor store to get stuff for margaritas, but because they don't have it in Costco and they don't have it, their grocery store is Fred Meyer." And I was like, "Wait, what?" They're like, "Yeah, you have to go to different stores for alcohol here, and that's Oregon. You can't get it." I'm like, We wouldn't do that here in California. Be like, no, you need to put it in the store. We don't want to hear anything about it. So when you're talking about Pennsylvania, since I went to college there, I forgot, we'd grab a 6-pack of beer from one of the local bars or pubs and walk out with it. And you can't do that here, by the way. You can't go into a bar and buy a 6-pack of beer. So that's just funny. That's probably the only place.
Yeah, well, that's the way it was. Pennsylvania, they have beer distributors, they call them, and you have to go in and you buy like a big case of beer. And so if you go to get Bud Light, you're getting the 30-pack. They don't sell anything smaller than that. Maybe a 24 of other stuff, but I think Bud Light was only the 30-packs in cans, 24 probably like in bottles. I know who drinks Bud Light. People that actually follow me at Joe_Kuzma know that I'm drinking much better stuff. There's going to be a lot of laughter that I can't hear from the people listening that are into craft beer, and they're finally like, okay, now we're on with this guy. Hey, Labatt was in discussions with us last year, and we did some promotions with them, and I turned on quite a few people to Labatt, even though it's still kind of more a mainstream beer. It's Canadian beer, and they had really cool black and gold cans last year, so looking to see if they do something like that again. But those were always a good conversation piece, but once again, had to buy an entire case of them in order to get the black and gold. You had to go into Pennsylvania to get it. Now, as I'm reading here, this is Wikipedia, so if somebody has better knowledge than I do, I will retract this and say something on a later episode. But Monday through Saturday, a store may open as early as 9 a.m. and close as late as 10 p.m. Sunday, many stores sell, and this is liquor laws, of course, but there's liquor stores and then there's beer distributors, so I'm sure they kind of follow the same pattern. Sunday says from 11 until 7. I'm not sure if that's when the bars can start serving or stop serving, but a lot of that's getting changed too. And even the grocery stores like a Giant Eagle or something, if they have a cafe, you can go and buy beer. However, you're probably not looking to just take beer with you, and I know that's something you're not going to want to do if you end up in Jacksonville, Florida on November 18th as part of Gameday Tailgate Experience's giant tailgate party before the Sunday Night Football rematch between the Steelers and Jaguars. There's a 5-hour tailgate with. This is where you don't have to worry about the liquor or beer because it's an open bar. 5 hours. Begins at 3:30. All you can eat food to help supplement that, so you can maybe sober up and walk into the stadium, not getting any fights with people and stuff like
There you go.
that. So yeah, we don't want to see you waste your game ticket and not remember your experience at Everbank Field. But if you happen to be down there and you're looking for somewhere to party, somewhere to hang out with other football fans, you can get 20% off your purchase by using the promo code Steel City during checkout. In order to purchase those tickets, you're going to want to visit and see the information on our website, steelcityunderground.com/Jaguars Tailgate. Now, I want to talk about the breweries that are down there. Now, I didn't mention Mullins or Redbeard's, and some of these other places are along the same kind of sports bar-ish type place as McFadden's, but you're going to be scattered about the city, and many of them have more than one. I know Mullins has like maybe 4 locations, so there's more than one. I mean, Permanis is the same way. They're all over the city too, in the suburbs and whatnot. But there's 2 breweries, one of which will have a major announcement, not from us, but from one of our friends coming here in the near future. They had mentioned something on Facebook. I don't know if they want it public yet, and I've sworn to secrecy, so I can't say any more than that. But they're right across the street from each other, 2 breweries. You got Rivertown Brewery, which is actually they're both kind of brew pubs. They're not the actual brewery, but Rivertown beer is made in Pennsylvania, Rivertown Brewery being one of them. They do some seafood, fried food. They have excellent food there. I love everything there. There's like a jumbo fried fish, and it comes with like the fresh cut fries and everything. They bring it in this like a metal cup almost, and I get it almost every time. It's just, they're just these huge jumbo shrimp. I mean, one would fit like in your hand. You got to take bites of it. That's how big it is. The other place that I like, and you get, depending on where you're sitting, you could even go outside and you have a nice look of the 3 rivers, all the bridges. There's like a nice little corridor right there because across from it is Tilted Kilt on the same side of the road. And you'll have the Steel Line Steelers band, the drum line, come through and play some music en route to Heinz Field on certain game days. So it's a great atmosphere. There's always a lot of people walking around and whatnot. On the other side of the street, everything's been built up kind of new. Southern Tier, which is based out of New York, has a Pittsburgh brew pub. And that place is also packed. They were still working on some of the outdoor stuff the last time I was there, so they may have that ready for the season. Bar Louie is there. Burgatory, also a place with many locations around the burg, if you want a gourmet burger. But all of these places have TVs. All of these places have excellent drink specials, beer, you name it. That is the party central because you're basically maybe 2 blocks from Heinz Field. And Stage AE's right there, too. It's a concert venue, and that's where they actually record the pregame and postgame. When you hear, like, you know, a lot of times where Charlie Batch and whoever happens to be the host of the show with him, and you're hearing those things, they're usually recording right there. And you could go there, and they also serve alcohol there as well with the concert hall. So there's a lot of stuff you could do right in. That's like the epicenter right there. Oh, you know what? I forgot to mention one, but I'll let you speak first because, you know, I don't think too highly of the last one I was going to mention. I wasn't even going to say it because of that, but I know I'll get asked because I'm overlooking it.
Well, what is the difference, just for people who are listening in and they're new to the area, so they don't know the difference between North Side and South Side? Because on the South Side, I like Fathead Saloon.
Oh, so, well, yeah. Well, here's the deal. Basically, South Side is just below where PPG Paints Arena, where the Penguins play. And that's not a walk. That's a drive. That's a taxi. That's a T. Now, if you park in the garages downtown, you could ride the T from one of the main stations on over to either the PNC Park where the Pirates play or Heinz Field for free. You could get on or off there and then back to, I think, the main station. And then anything else, I think there's like, you know, a cost to it, but you would probably be riding the T over, like, we were talking about some stuff like that too, because Eric mentioned a few places. He turned me on to Pizza Milano's is a great place to go, especially before Penguins games. You could probably watch Steelers games too. I'm sure they probably get a small crowd. Any of those places that are over there. Fatheads does have TVs.
They do. That's the one
over.
I went to.
Yeah,
Fatheads was pretty cool because they've got, for those of you that keep asking me for gluten-free options, they have a pulled pork chili. I swear, I get these direct messages on Twitter. They're like, Terry, could you also shout out gluten-free people? I'm like, okay, Fathead's got a gluten-free pulled pork chili and fried pickles. So Just saying.
Yeah, and you know what? Fatheads is also like a brew pub of the main brewery. Now they're originally from Pittsburgh, moved a lot of their production facilities up to Cleveland area, and a big fan of their beer, as well as, like I said, Rivertown and Southern Tier makes some excellent stuff, especially the pumpkin beers. But you can't go wrong with Fatheads either if you end up over in that specific area. You really can't. It may even be less crowded because you're not in the epicenter of everything, but I'm sure it's still a hot spot because anybody that's a craft beer aficionado is going to seek out Fatheads. And like I said, you go across and there's another spot that's right by PPG that I'm trying to, I want to say it's like Center something. I can't think of the name of it either. It's another place you could go eat, drink, and whatnot. But the one that a lot of fans probably flock to, and it's probably insane elbow to elbow to try and get in there anywhere on a game weekend, let alone a game day. And you got to be careful because if Pitt plays on a Saturday too, and you're coming to a Steelers Sunday game, you better check the schedule. You better look at your calendar and make your plans accordingly, or you won't get into any of these places during a Pitt game either. A Pitt home game, that is, since they also play at Heinz Field. Jerome Bettis Grill. Now, I hate to say not so positive things. There's nothing really I have against the food or the beer. It's more or less the atmosphere. I mentioned to you, if I put a blindfold on you and walked you through the front door without seeing the sign, it's kind of underwhelming as opposed to Heinz Ward. You go to Heinz Ward's place, which is a way more business casual. I almost feel underdressed in it, even though it's supposed to be more laid back. It's a very nice place, and he has a winery too. That's north about 15, 20 minutes in Cranberry. Well, it's not in Cranberry, whatever the town is next to Cranberry, and it's escaping me. But it's right there off of that exit. Heinz has like signed helmets, signed jerseys, pictures of him with Dancing with the Stars. All Jerome Bettis has is like a giant picture of himself that's painted on a wall, and there's like really nothing else. Now, there used to be, you're going to laugh at this, there used to be in the urinals like something with the Cleveland Browns so you could take a leak on them. But
really?
Yeah, but those weren't there anymore either. And about the only thing is when you're standing there, they have like a see-through kind of mirror window you can only see in one way. Think of a police interrogation where you're watching in the movies or a TV show. So as you're standing there doing your business, you could actually look out into the restaurant, which is a little creepy. So
yeah, that is kind of bizarre. Well, I know that my daughter goes to Pittsburgh every year to visit some extended family, and she's like, yeah, but the first time I went to Bettis's restaurant, she goes, I thought it was cool, it was good. She goes, and it was kind of Pittsburgh. She goes, then we stopped by before because there was a rainstorm and everybody like ran into the building. And she said you couldn't even tell it was the Steelers, anything.
Yeah. It's kind of nondescript. And I want to say, like, when you have other options like Southern Tier serving, or Rivertown even serving fresh beer direct, from the brewery, this thing can come from like a beer distributor or something. I remember spending $20 on just 2 beers with me and my cousin. We were hanging out there during the one NFL draft. And I mean, they have enough TVs. You can watch the game. I'm sure the atmosphere is just fine. It has the outdoor seating, much the same way I said about Rivertown, as does Tilted Kilt. The other thing that's cool about those places too, but just to mention with Rivertown and Tilted Kilt, and I know Southern Tier was working on this, they have windows you could walk up to on the outside, and you could get a beer in a glass, like pint glass, like almost like like a solo cup type deal. So that's also cool, but I mean, it gets packed, so you got to keep that in mind as you're doing this. But there's lots of things to do if you don't end up into going to a game, and you never know. Even if you're going before a game and hanging out and having some drinks, you're going to find some people that are going to game. You might find somebody who has, like, maybe they have a set of 2 tickets or 4 tickets, and maybe somebody bailed on them, and they're just looking for whatever the cost of the ticket is versus paying 2-3 times what it costs to get it on some of these websites, which is kind of the important thing in mentioning Ticket IQ, because they guarantee the prices. So look there, to kind of get an idea. I'm not going to say this is always going to work this way, but if you're a gambling person, if you're the kind of person that doesn't need the security of, I absolutely have a ticket, I'm going to the game no matter what, if you could live with it and, you drink away and you forget about it and you don't end up at the game, then these are some good options for you too. Of course, not everyone has, disposable income to go to every Steelers game either. So this gets you as close to the game day experience as possible without actually stepping foot in the stadium.
I agree. I think that sometimes you just want to go relax, have a beer, have some food, and not deal with the crowds of the stadium. Well, you don't. You love the crowds of the stadium. But
I don't mind it. I beat the crowd.
Yeah.
I beat the crowds though. See, you got to game the system. You got to plan to be there early enough. I beat the traffic. I beat the crowds, except for leaving, and then I don't care. So I'm
you're good. I'm looking for a luxury box next time I go. So
yeah,
I'm a little bit spoiled person. I'm trying to, when it comes to that, I want comfort. I want people to wait on us. I'm like, I want the experience from a certain viewpoint. I know you're going to get cards and letters on this one. They're going to be like, oh, Terry.
Yeah. And I'm sure because we didn't write absolutely every single place we thought of down. I'm sure I'm already thinking I've forgot one or two, and I'm sure it'll come up. We may even be able to cover, I bet we get enough submissions. We can maybe even come back to this topic one more time, but I know one we're going to cover before the season kicks off officially here, maybe within a week or so after this fourth preseason game. You brought up a very good thing about the Xbox, the streaming games and stuff like that. There's options for those of you sitting at home as well. So Steelers Nation across the nation just isn't about whatever random city you happen to be in and catching a game. We're going to go over some ways to be able to do it from your own couch, whether that's in your man cave, living room, or whatever. I've got quite a bit of experience with this stuff as well. In fact, legal methods I was also mentioned because someone tweeted at me when I said, my game feed was cutting in and out. I'm watching it off the antenna broadcast. It was just the satellite feed coming into the local station and kept cutting out from Philly about 3 or 4 times during the game. And somebody sends me like some pirated link for a game. And I'm like, oh boy. I'm like,
they do that to me because
not what I was looking for.
We can't get Dodger games on TV for the most part here unless you have an Apple pirated backdoor system. And so 80% of people in Southern California can't get them. So basically I switched to Pirates. It's been 4 years now. And so people are always trying to send me that stuff. But
the Pittsburgh Pirates, of course.
Yeah. Just so you know why Joe has so much information on IT and all these little things. It's because this is why he keeps me around. Because I am IT challenged. And all of a sudden, when I come to him with a problem, which is often, he's like, oh, you're giving me more material for my new discontent podcast and I'm just saying, just so you know, you guys, I gave him a lot of material.
You do well, and I do appreciate it. It's these things kind of. It's just like the way we all talk in the back rooms and we come up with topics about stuff, and we're going to see how some of these other things relate. We'll be talking about X's and O's here in the near future. So, yes, Terry, thank you for the material, and thank you for joining me today.
You bet.
And I'm sorry for calling you Tina, but she did end up buzzing me like 2 more times during the middle of this, and I was trying to contain my laughter. So.
That's okay. We love Tina.
Close enough. They both begin with a T. So as long as I don't call Brian Tina, I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, I think he might frown on that.
He just might. So, folks, I don't know what else we've got for you as far as watching games in Pittsburgh. I prefer the stadium. If you got something else, don't forget fan mail at steelcityunderground.com. The YouTubers are subscribing. They're leaving the comments there. We see them. We get to them as soon as we can. Definitely appreciate it. Until next time, my name is Joe. Her name is Terry. Not Tina. Be safe. Be good. We'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.